Yeah, boy. I don't know. I got to turn the light on. It's still a little early. Look at that heavy frost. It is about 40 something. Flowers look really good still. I think those can handle a little bit of coup. Boy, look at all them tops. Standing tall. See how that cold hits them flowers though? I don't know. That kind of looks like a little bit of frost. Almost frosted. Tobacco still hasn't headed up or nothing. I don't know, I might touch it with my hand. That might be, I don't know, heavy frost. Them flowers are kind of sagging a little bit. I know these big ones are. Look at that, what that cold's been doing to them. You know, it's been doing that right there. No more caterpillars that we can see. It's the coldest morning we're going to have, maybe. And like I say, I really don't see no more tomatoes coming on. I picked that big one right there. It split a little bit with the rain that we got. They're still growing. I don't know, we get a few. Like I say, them later ones, they might come on and do pretty good. Figured we'd do an update. Got a little bit of breeding going on. Yeah, those guys are froze solid. It ain't froze, but I was surprised we didn't get no frost this morning. One of the colder mornings that it was calling for, but you know, hey, it might get colder than this. I don't know. Look at them flowers, man. Still haven't picked the weeds out. The bugs are just too bad. It is what it is. Look at those. They love that fertilizer. Still got a lot of blooms. See what that, yesterday that looked great. You know, that cold's still hurting the blooms. But it's still coming on pretty strong. Look how pretty that thing is, boy. Man. I tell you, there's two different varieties in them seed packets. But man, that thing just looks so hardy and healthy. Man, it's stout too, you know. All them little ones look like that. See how the bigger one is, and then you see the little one? Them little ones, boy, look at that. Yeah, it's kind of the way people do me, honking at my house. I don't know. Could be brother. Who knows? He drives me in cars. Who knows? They got a bunch of them. But look at those. I don't know. See that looked really nice yesterday evening. Without an extra picture or something to prove how it looked, you know. Yeah, see there? That cold hurt some of them blooms. Some of them look pretty decent though. I mean, look at that. That is nice. Some of them are picture perfect. But I figured I need to go over here and let you see these tomatoes too. But we're going to check on these little ones here too. I figured I'd show you those. And the dog's kind of getting on them a little bit. We had 8 of them played out right here. But, you know, some of them still struggling. See them littler ones though, they look a lot hardy. There was 2 different packs once again, but you know, they seem like they're blooming a little bit later. I don't know, with that light on there, it kind of looks like frost, don't it? But all the big flowers played out right there. I'm gonna try to get out here today and work on this. I gotta work on that motor puller. I still got the wheel broke off of it, so it's kind of cold. We gotta eat and all that. Make sure we got enough fuel to make it happen. But these little tomatoes, I've been picking a few off. You know, they seem like they're still looking pretty decent. I don't know if it was the... I think they took a bit of a shock with all that. Yeah, see there, they're laying right on the ground. They look beautiful. Took a shock with all that dishwashing liquid sprayed on them. They're a little more in the shade. They look decent, man. They look real decent. I mean, they're kind of laid over and everything, but boy, that almost looks like frost. I swear it does. Just a heavy dew that almost looks like frost. It looks like it snowed on them, don't it, with that light. Yeah, no Easter eggs that we can see. I don't see. I had a couple hornworms on these too now. I picked off 2. Can't see them with my eye. You look through that camera, you can see them. There's a couple people like, buddy, it's right there. I'm like, what do you see, son? Tell me. I can't see. I'm about half blind. I gotta get my glasses fixed again. So, yeah, that little one there. That's one of them later ones, beefsteak or better boy. Can't tell nothing about them really. They look good, but they didn't produce like the ones that were set up. You know, you're starting to see a few turn here and there. I see that one be played out for long. Let's go down here and actually check on our, we still got 1 pepper plant. But, with that pepper plant, didn't get no flowers on it, but it got stunted, man. It got froze. I lost a lot of stuff. Because, when you know, the guys come through and just stomp berries through everything. So, it needed to get cleaned up or whatever, so. I was kind of looking to see if I still had any herbs or any of that. I can't pick it out. Looks like a lot of hemlock in there, and I don't get that on me. I'll have to go through here and see if I can pick through it. Yeah, right there it is. I've been picking it out every so day or two. You can tell I picked it out a little bit. But no flowers. Let's hope maybe just get one pepper off of it. That's the only one that did any good. But I planted thyme, basil, parsley. I got over in there, right over in there, and was looking for some of that okra that I throwed over in there. I put some, you know, I just throw some seeds out here and there. Might have a pumpkin or watermelon, hopefully. I looked in there, I didn't see nothing. They had it pretty cleaned off. But I was hoping for something, some basil, something. You know, usually you can plant that stuff, it'll grow through anything. So will that okra. You know. I thought I had some okra down there, but, you know, ain't nothing left now. I had that whole bank filled up. They filled it full of wood chips, not a big deal. Hopefully we get a good next year. Everybody planted their fall crops. But, you know, Sam said he was going to come down here and get some of this or whatever, so might take him a little while. He's a busy guy. But we got a few of them going, and we got to fix this motor puller, hopefully. And we got that motor down in there. It just needs to go back. I'm thinking to beat that firewall back with a hammer. I'm debating on whether to take it apart. It don't have to go much. It just needs, maybe we can get you in there. Yeah, see there, see that gap? It's like maybe an inch. You probably tap that back that far, and if it's going to bust it, it's going to have to be cut out and fiberglassed anyhow. So, but our wheel is off of the motor puller, so that way we got to pull that motor out or slide it back and beat all that back. But it took me a minute to get that torque converter shaft into that adapter. I figured I had to back up the back of the transfer case. I really don't want to have to do nothing that I don't have to do. I'm not going to take that transmission out and all that. That's too much. And it looks like one of those squatted trucks. It's cold out here. Might let it heat up a little bit. Look there. It looks like a squatted truck. That motor sits almost behind the front axle. But once that motor pulls back and at top, it'll pick that up. It'll probably pull it up off of that diff and stuff once it gets bolted up and it's got room to go back. You know, if it does this, imagine it doing that, it'll pick it all up. We can hook our bracket, we can weld a motor mount in it on this side. Probably going to take that alternator off. Probably going to take that intake off. It'd probably be easier to do that. We're going to make sure that pipe can come in there with no kinks. And then on that, I seen a guy that used 2 bolts on one thing, 2 bolts on something else. You know, maybe we could even tie in on this AC compressor now that we can't use it, and put like a 2-piece, or, you know, it'll be a bracket with 3 bolts here, and 2 bolts here, and just make the plate to where it'll bolt up, and you can, it might look a little wonky, but I mean, at least it ain't got 2 bolts. This is what I was saying, 2 bolts to hold the motor, it ain't going to hold it. It's going to do this. It's going to want to break it off. If you got some way to mount it up with that AC compressor to where it's a little bit deeper and it ain't going to hit that steering shaft coming through there to whatever, we'll have to make another. I could just take that AC pump, trace it out with a piece of cardboard, and whatever it takes. Got bolts, just need a piece of rod or some little piece of metal to go in between, make a shim. And then if you got 3 bolts there, 2 bolts there, that's what, 5 bolts. I mean, that would be better, I think. But we got to get it back and get it to where that motor's going to be up enough. They get that motor up. You tie those 3 little brackets in, or 2, like 2 across the bottom right there where it bolts up. 2 right there, and then right there's that plate. I don't know if you can see it. Right there, right in behind that is our plate. So you're pretty close. If you got 2 bolts here, 3 bolts, whatever, and then tie it in with that plate, make for a better motor mount, and then weld it to the factory, whatever, and do something like that. Once you can get it completely bolted together, obviously intake's got to come off, the alternator has to come off. Probably need to take that brake booster off so you got room to finesse it, make it look. I mean, it's going to be a funky looking motor mount, but I seen a guy do that. He said that's a better way of doing it instead of 2 bolts. He said, he's like, man, 2 bolts. He had a piece of square tubing, like, square tubing coming in like that, so it ain't gonna, whatever. He said 2 bolts, it'd probably break the casting out of the motor. So, it's pretty cold out here. I think that's what we're gonna do. You ain't gonna run no AC on that. And I could put a shorter belt on that so we ain't got to have a bracket in the way. So that'll work. Well, that's our update. I'm going to see what I can get done. I all day yesterday, getting groceries, taking care of things. Had to do some laundry the day before that. I got my bibs cleaned up. It's about getting time to close up the vents and see if we can't get our diesel heater busted off this year. See what it's going to take. I got to get a new line on it, put a fuel filter on it, clean out the tank, order some gaskets for it. So hopefully that little inverter that we bought last year is still good. Man, it's cold. I'll go ahead and we'll just make a good video out of this. I'll just kind of give you a rundown. We're 32 is freezing. It kind of, everybody gets confused. They're like, that line, that's freezing. No, it's the line all the way on the bottom, 32. Usually we don't get that till about November the 1st. Maybe 2 weeks into whatever. Got some 38 double D's or triple D's. Fuel filter's a mess. This tank, it might last another year. We need to replace it at that. About 3 years is all I'm going to run this thing. It's kind of expensive for that diesel fuel. Our bag just came off there. It's just gone. So it's got water in the system probably. And once we do all that, we have to silicone that. I had to silicone a spot in the floor. It looks cobbled. That old wood it got was falling apart. And then we have to make sure to take care of this washer here. So, we still kind of got it jerry-rigged up here. I did my bibs and, some heavy. You miss a washer when you ain't had one in a little while. Big, heavy one that'll do some heavy denim. And we'll get out here and hopefully we can get the motor puller fixed today. And I might be able to get that slid out enough to slide that motor out. I got to put a plate over the back of the motor where it had that power steering pump attached. I still didn't do that. I was like, man, I better get that in there and get it fitting. And if it'll bolt up, you know, it ain't nothing to put if it'll come all the way together, then we got to make sure we got room for that thing. It's going way back there. It's sitting behind that diff almost. So it's got it still up, you know. We have to crank the torsion bars down or put a lift kit on the back of it or something. Who knows? But that's our game plan. We still got that's going to be a lot to make that motor bracket. So we'll put that plate on there. You get that plate on there. You got all that off there. And we can, one's deep, one's shallow. It may look like a snake in there. But if you can get it in there and get it mounted up, and, you know, that'd be good. It'd take me a while. I got to make sure I got everything. Tried to get some cutoff wheels at Walmart yesterday morning. No luck. They've got stuff moved around to where I can't find nothing. And we got to get that other hood that I've got saved for that truck and get it on there. We'll spray paint the bottom of it and leave it the same color on the top. And we'll get the hood and the front of the edge of the fenders painted once we get it all back together, hopefully. But I might spray paint the bottom, get it cleaned up, spray paint the bottom, get it, you know, tapped in, beat into whatever. Once we get that motor in there and get that pipes ran out there, you know, we can start getting in there and really grunting on it, hopefully, if we can figure it out, get it started. I talked to a guy about getting either an unlocked ECU or just programming another PCM. I want to get rid of the evap stuff. You know, these videos are taking like 2 days to load. So if it does load faster and it just, you know, sometimes videos are loading in front of the other videos. I don't know why it's doing that. We're just kind of talking, showing what we've got going on. I know a few people missed me there a little bit, missed you guys too, but, you know, let's be honest. I gotta take a break every now and again. You know, I got problems, but, you know, here's that evap. If you could just, you know, you got to delete it out of the computer. So what happens is it goes back to a charcoal canister and it's got fuel vapors. Those fuel vapors make this motor run good at an idle. You delete it out and it don't read it and it's not looking for it. You'll have a vent on the gas tank. You might smell a little bit of gas fumes, but it ain't like something serious. And then on this exhaust, it has 2 O2 sensors, and I just wanted to put 1 O2 sensor on it, run it wideband, get rid of the catalytic converter. You know, we don't have to have that stuff. So, don't want it. Just keeps somebody cutting the thing off, you know, you never know. I don't see why they do that anyhow. You got to have a title to the vehicle or whatever, so don't matter to me. I don't, whatever. And if we do have to take that complete wiring harness and put it on here, that's something we'll do, you know. All I got to do is hook up vacuum to those brakes. They should work. And, you know, with these two motor mount, getting that beat back, slide out, or even pull it all the way out so you can get there and thump it and get it back in there and get some motor mounts. I mean, that'd probably be about 2 weeks. You know, and then we need to get a rack for this thing, a manual rack, so we can steer it or whatever we need to do. That fuel or that AC line won't fit. I'll pull it off, and we'll see what and all we can get done. You know, probably be to the end of the month getting motor mounts made and all that. I don't care to do a little video of what we're doing for the day or whatever, but I'll try to make a little more progress before we post. I don't want to just be like every day, did one thing. That's kind of what I might do, you know. I pick at it one day at a time. You know, if we can do one thing, that's good. You know, what'd you get done? We got a fuel line off. What did I get done? I got that motor stabbed in there. We know it don't fit too great without getting that firewall beat back. Might be able to get that beat back and get some bolts in it. And then you're going to have to cut out room around these so we can get our hand back in there and make room for lines or whatever. Make sure it's going to be routed right before you seal the deal and get your motor mounts and everything, whatever. Got to work on these transmission lines. You know, to get them transmission lines in there, you got to have a fitting that's going to go into that. That's the only way I see getting them. I've seen a thing to where you could just put it in to what you got and it just works with you just run a line down on both of them, clamp them up, 2 or 3 clamps, call it good. Might do that. so we can get some. It's a 6AN line. It's got to have a fitting that goes into the transmission, and then you got the lines. They're soft lines. It comes with like clamps and everything to make it look, decent. And we can put some stuff together. Once we get that motor down in there, it's going to be whatever. We can put the grill on it. We can put the headlights on it. We can slap that old hood or that red hood back on it and open and close it as we need to work on it, or we can. I can't work on it every single day. You get too tired. I got to drag stuff out, put it back, drag it out, in and out. If I had the building finished, whatever, we talked about that. I make my comments, to inform people that, I'm not perfect and we all have problems, but mainly just want to have a supply and a return on a gas tank and have a vent on it, get rid of the evap and program the PCM to where I don't have to have both O2 sensors. I've got the pieces to make it work. That rear O2 sensor, they got it whatever. But it can put a tune on the motor too and maybe get a little more out of it with factory, They said to get rid of the rev limiter. I don't want to do that, Don't want to do that. I, kind of keep it to where it ain't going to be. You could hold it to those Ford Festivas. They used to lay a block on the gas pedal and listen to it all day. Those are good motors. It's got a rev limiter on it, bub. It won't let you blow it up, even though you try every day. As long as it's got oil in it. And antifreeze, it shouldn't. Keyword, it shouldn't. But we're just going to try to keep picking at it a day at a time. We need a belt. We need a rack. We need figure out a plate to connect 2 motor mounts or 2 spots on the block, or if you got a 3-spot here and a 2-spot there, and those holes are a little bit bigger, kind of make a snake looking motor mount, and you can weld it up close to factory or right at the factory spots, then that's going to be love, and be able to get it in and out with what you put together, and then we'll figure out the rest of it. And then we, start plumbing the lines and start hooking up the wiring harness. Run something in. We'll have to pull that dash. I'm going to beat on it, just to get it to where it'll come together and we can work on the motor mounts. That's going to be the first thing. Pull it out after we fix the motor puller and stick it back in there. Get it bolted up. Beat on it with a sledgehammer just enough. Well, I want to be able to stick my hand down in behind that motor. That way I can, get them bolts in there, whatever they got Allen heads, so, it's tough. It'd be tough to get something down in there. And I'm not going to unbolt the transmission, slide it forward to finish bolting. I will if I have to. I would rather not. If that motor plate, and I'm not saying nothing against those guys, but, if I have it to do over, if you could make that probably 3 or maybe 3 inches thick or 2.5 inches thick, once you bolt it up, that would bring that motor out that much further. You wouldn't have to beat on nothing. If there was to ask me what I think about how to design that, I think that's like a whatever. It's like almost 1.5 inches at the top. So if it was like 2.5 inches thicker, you could just bolt it right up. But you got to figure out motor mounts and all that. I'm happy with the way it is. If I got to beat it a little bit, I'm good with that. It's just an old truck. And that motor ain't nothing. Everybody be like, LS. I think I seen an LS kit that we can hook up these factory lines, but, with the power steering being off of there, it needs a manual rack. Once again, it might be a different way to hook up a rack, or, a power steering pump off of that truck here to there. Possibility. I'm going to cap the lines. I'll just maybe get one of them little kits that work with that and just cap it off. That way we ain't got to pull it out just yet. If I had a checkbook to where it was unlimited, we could probably just start throwing parts at it and just say custom make this, blah, 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 and just stick it on there. But, it's just not the way it is. Hope everybody's having a good day.